So when doing rent to rent, what is best? Is rent to rent HMO or rent to rent serviced accommodation better? Let's cover that today. Hello, my name is Mark Fitzgerald. It's fantastic to have you joining me here today. So today I'm going to cover a hot topic that I get asked a lot of questions on, so I thought I would do a video and share it with you. Neither of these are right or wrong. This is just my take on what I see and how I've done things myself. And equally, it might help you if you're on the fence and you're not sure whether you want to go down the HMO route or the serviced accommodation route in your rent to rent business. So HMOs, houses of multiple occupation, if you do not know, are the houses where we rent the rooms on a room by room level. So if you had a 6-bed property, you would rent out to 6 different tenants. Unless they're students, you would rent them on separate ASTs. And in effect, it would be their own room that would have its own lock. They may share a bathroom or they may have their own ensuite, and they will share kitchen areas and communal areas. Serviced accommodation, SA, as we like to call it, is your holiday lets, is your Airbnb properties. So that could be a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom flat. That could be a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom upwards terraced house that a family can rent out on short-term let, normally for the weekend, normally for a couple of nights. You, of course, can get corporate stays as well with that, where people will stay for months, potentially years on end, where a company will hold the property and put their workers into it. So both are very, very good. Both are pretty lucrative. And both have their pros and cons. So I'm just going to cover a few of those now and hopefully give you some ideas of what to look out for and what to do. Because some people will sell you the serviced accommodation dream and some people will try and sell you the HMO dream. Let me just tell you before we start out here, both can make you a lot of money, but both are hard work. Okay, when we talk about property investing, when we're getting involved in property, there's nothing really about it that isn't hard work. So let's just make that certain first. It can be rewarding, it can be your own business. And as I say, you can make money out of this, but it is going to take a level of effort and work on your part. Unless you have a shed loads of funds that you can just throw at it from the word go and set things up and have everybody else do something for you. At the very beginning, you're going to get your gloves off, you're going to roll up your sleeves and you're going to get stuck in. So let's do some comparisons. A first one, cash flow. Let's talk about cash flow. Now, I did go down the HMO route, and that was really for cash flow. Serviced accommodation, on average, will probably, once it's built up and once it's being let and you've built up your reviews and ratings and you've got a bit of a following and maybe even repeat customers, you will earn more. Okay, let's get that out of the way. You will probably earn more with your serviced accommodation as long as it's set up right. HMO for me was more along the lines of I could get hold of the properties and within day one, I could start making money. As long as I filled the rooms and as long as I stacked the deal properly, I was going to make money. Now, you can have a few things go wrong with that, people not paying rents and stuff like that, which is why you want to do your due diligence properly. You want to make sure that your referencing and everything is as good as it can be, and you get guarantors if need be. But again, those things may or may not happen. I've had a couple of instances where that's happened. I've had people you have to chase as well. It can be a bit of a bind, but we have the systems in place to get on that straight away. But again, as long as I've got people in the properties and they're paying their rents to me, I've got my cash flow coming in. Having said that, I have seen certain businesses and certain people starting in serviced accommodation where it's taken a lot longer for them to build up the cash flow or even break even in what they're doing. But once they have, they've made a lot of money and they are doing very well on that. So cash flow, it depends if you want quick cash flow. I mean, at the moment, we've got a booming serviced accommodation market. So right here in 2022, the serviced accommodation market is going through the roof. So you may be able to build that up a lot quicker. But just remember that once it's set up, that's just half the battle. Same as HMOs, we still need to have systems in place. We still need to know what we're doing. But on serviced accommodation, we've got to really, really be able to react quickly. Now, that moves me on to systems and running it as a business. So I've ran a rent-to-rent business, HMO, very successfully for the last few years. And I now train people and show people how to do that from nothing to building it up to a successful business that basically works for them in the background. I say in the background, I still have to get stuck in. There is still things that I need to do, but I do have a team of people that work and help and support me as well. So that's very good. Now, serviced accommodation, which I've gotten into now, is all about making sure that the clients that are there, and they may be there for just 2 nights, they may be there for even 1 night. I'll try and stay away from one-nighters if you can, because the cost of actually having the cleaners go in and the bedding changed and all of that, you're not going to make a lot of money if they've got a lot of people staying there for just 1 night. So try and have at least 2 nights, 3 nights is a better one. So like a long weekend and then potentially week stays. For that reason, but you need systems set up. So you need cleaners that can go in there and be very proactive, can be very thorough. So I have cleaners that go into my HMOs and they go and clean the communal areas. They don't clean people's rooms. People are there to clean their own rooms and look after their own environment, but they will clean all the communal areas and sort that out. Serviced accommodation, they're going to go in there, they're going to change the bedding, they're going to change everything. So you've got to be on it like a hotel. And at the end of the day, you can get bad reviews by a cleaner just missing a bit of dirt. Somebody sees something that doesn't look quite right or looks a bit scruffy. That could end up starting to give you bad reviews, and that could really hurt your serviced accommodation business. So you need to be proactive. You need to have a good cleaning team, and you also, the way that you onboard people, so to speak, and set people in with the key structure, you need to make sure that you've got a welcome information there. You've got information on everything that's in the kitchen, everything that's working in there, i.e. the boiler controls, the heating controls. Make everything as stupidly simple as you can, because if you have people coming from abroad to stay in your serviced accommodations, they're not going to be as familiar with everything that we've got potentially in this country as we are. So there's certain things that we can fathom out ourselves. It may be completely alien to them. So if you haven't made it stupid simple, again, you're going to be getting calls. You're going to be getting people a bit grouchy, a bit moany, can't turn the heating up, can't turn the heating off, can't use the oven, can't do this, can't do that. It's going to look bad on you. So it's really got to be set up, and you've really got to have good systems in place. And the other thing, of course, with serviced accommodation is it can be seasonal. So where's my HMOs? As long as I've got tenants in there, they're all pretty much paying the same amount. I know what's coming in each month. I'm happy. Serviced accommodation, it might go quiet over Christmas time, or you might be in a place where it actually gets busy over Christmas and it might be quieter in the summer. Likewise, it can be seasonal. If it is a holiday sort of let in a seaside resort area, you're going to get a lot more people wanting to book your serviced accommodations. And I would say, if you've got a few, you're going to really be able to rake the money in there. But as the season drops off and it quietens down, you will still be able to take bookings, but you might have to lower your prices slightly. As we see with any travel agents, the prices go up in the school holidays and then they level off and go back down outside of the school holidays. So you can get in there, you can make that extra money, but it can be seasonal. And you may have months where potentially nobody stays, which is all right as long as you've made your money in the season and you've accounted for the fact that you're not going to be, a maximum capacity all the way through. I see a lot of people when they're doing serviced accommodation stacking deals on like 75% occupancy. For me, if you stack a deal on 50% and it still washes its face and makes you some money, that's a deal all day long. Just be careful and mindful of the fact that you don't want to stack a deal too high a percentage and then you've got quiet periods that you haven't accounted for, because we don't know what we don't know in certain areas, do we? So we don't know how the seasons are going to play out when we're starting out. Now, if you're a seasoned pro at this, you know when it's coming, you know when to, make hay when the sun is shining, so to speak, and you'll be a lot better equipped. But as I say, with the HMOs, I get hold of the properties. I've always said with HMO, I could look at a property in the morning, I could do the deal at lunchtime with the landlord, get the contract signed, be given the keys, and start filling it that day and start making money. Now, it's not as simple as that. And my God, I'd never try and do it in one day. It normally does take a few weeks up to a month to get things sorted. But once you've got it sorted, you've got the cash flow coming in. You know where you are. You know what's coming in. Which leads me on to a topic, I was going to say hassle. With any of these, there is hassle. I have tenants who sometimes don't get along. I have tenants that complain about silly little things. And I think everybody, at times has a bad day and something ticks them off maybe more than it would normally. So you know that's going to happen, and you basically prepare for it. And most people, as long as they're heard and you talk to them and you let them know that you're proactive and on it, that will solve it, and you just keep them updated. So it's very important to keep people updated with HMOs. So let's say the boiler goes down, you can't get a plumber there till the next day. You could say to the tenants, just do your best tonight. A bit like in your own house. I can only get a plumber there when I can get a plumber there. And hey, obviously, I've got 24-hour call out, so a plumber would be there within 24 hours, so to speak. But if it's winter and it's snowing and it's difficult to get there and everybody's boiler's gone down, it's not going to be as quick as it would be if it was in the summer or something. So as long as you let them know, we're doing our best for this, and the plumber goes, he needs to order a part, or something's not going to work, it's going to be a couple more days, you can look to potentially compensate people and things like that. But they're a lot more forgiving in those instances, as long as you keep them updated, as long as you make sure that they have got hot water and that they can do certain things. And you can sort of, bide your time with that. Serviced accommodation, you can. As we say, if I went to a hotel and I had no hot water, they would be knowing about it straight away. How am I supposed to wash and everything? Well, we'll get it fixed tomorrow. That's no good. I'm not here tomorrow. You've got to get it done. You've got to be proactive. You've got to have the team that goes out there. And it can be very difficult. So, you could be running over there with heaters. You could be in all sorts of problems. And I've had phone systems set up on the HMOs or a virtual assistant, a VA answering phone calls from the tenants, and obviously being able to talk to them. What you'll find is serviced accommodation is, people want things right now. As I say, keep things stupid simple, your Wi-Fi codes and instructions and stuff. But if something does go down, be proactive. But you've really got to be on it quickly. You potentially may have to refund people if they had no hot water or the boiler went down and you couldn't do anything about it. So you've got to put all of that, so to speak, into your figures as well. Now, that's not going to happen all the time unless you've got a major problem with a boiler, in which case get the boiler changed. But at the end of the day, it's things to be mindful of, that you've got to be a lot quicker to react and proactive in serviced accommodation, and it can really take over your life. I know some investors who have one of the doorbell cameras, and they have to watch their clients actually using their properties just to make sure that they're not having parties, that it is the clients that are going through the front door and they're not bringing a load of friends in and stuff like that. And that takes over their life. They're doing it in the evening, or they're paying somebody to do it, or they're doing it at the weekends, and they're forever having to just double check that their properties aren't being trashed. Because the one thing about, an HMO, realistically, if somebody wants to trash an HMO, you're going to know about it, because the other tenants are going to start complaining, or they're going to ring you and say this is what's happening. Whereas obviously if you've got a serviced accommodation unit, it may be the neighbours that ring you, or it could be the police that say there's loud music, we've had reports, or something like this. So I found that when I was setting up, it was a lot easier to get started with the HMOs, which I did, built a portfolio up, made it sustainable. And now I do invest in serviced accommodations myself, but I don't manage them myself. I use a creditable company to do the management of the serviced accommodations for me. So that is, again, something that you can look at. If you're in a position where cash flow is not key and king, if you really are after the cash flow and stuff, you will start by doing these things yourself. And it doesn't hurt to do these things yourself to start out with. But make sure, as I always say, you set yourself up for success and you know what's coming at you. The beauty of serviced accommodation is no tenants, no AST agreements, no potential of tenants not paying you rent and having to evict them. Obviously, on holiday lets, people are just there for a very short space of time. They're not signing AST agreements. So it's a lot easier, if they did decide to stay, it's a lot easier to get them out, and pretty much, people aren't looking to do that. If you use the likes of Airbnb, where you can review the customer that stayed in your property as much as they can review you, they're going to look after your place a lot more because they don't want a bad review. Whereas obviously a tenant isn't that fussed. We take holding deposits and things to make sure that if they do anything wrong, we've got the money there to be able to put it right. And again, in my opinion, as long as you vet your tenants properly, you should be okay. People do change, and we can't do much about that. But in general, it's the nature of the business, and it's what it's all about. But I've had more good tenants than I have any ever bad tenants. I count on one hand the amount of bad tenants I've had. Most have left actually with no problems whatsoever. A couple were a bit more tricky, but we still managed to get them gone. I've never had to go to court or proceedings like that. So it's not all bad. We just need to make sure we do the homework at the start. But again, serviced accommodation, you're not even going to have to worry about that. But if that's the only reason you're looking at doing serviced accommodation, then just be mindful of the fact that when people complain, the complaints are going to come at you thick and fast and a lot quicker than they will do through your HMO. So really, I mean, we've covered a few things here, a few pros and cons. What would I say on the grand? I'd say pick one, okay? That is the one piece of advice I would give you, is pick one of those strategies to start your business with. So if you're going to go serviced accommodation, all in. Go all in serviced accommodation, set that up, get it so that it's making money, put the systems in place, get the team around you that you need, and then you can look to do whatever you want. That's what I did when I started out. I went down the HMO route to get the cash flow coming in, give myself a bit of time freedom, and give myself the space to be able to look at other opportunities. As I say, now I do look at other opportunities, and I'm looking at basically making sure that, like a bowl of fruit that has different fruit in there, I have a bowl of properties that can do HMOs, that can do serviced accommodations, and potentially even can just be single buy-to-lets as well, which I want to buy and keep in my own portfolio, so that I've got plenty of different asset classes, and that if anything happens in the market, I can cover myself through a few different bases. So that's what I would suggest that you do as well. But make sure you nail what it is you want to do to start with. If it's rent to rent in general, I can help you with that. We have the Rent to Rent Business Builder, which can help you go from no properties, or even if you've got one property, and build you up with all the help and support and advice you need to move yourself forward. That is going really well, and the students on there are pulling off and doing phenomenal things and working together in a really good, safe community. But again, as I say to them, make sure that you are going to do one thing, you're going to nail that one thing, and then you can do what you like. And I've seen people start to do serviced accommodation, realize how difficult and how time consuming serviced accommodation can be, and then move over to HMOs. I've seen people nail the HMO things and then start to move over to serviced accommodation. As I say, neither is bad, neither is better than the other. It's really what suits your area as well. If you're in a holiday sort of place and you can get hold of the properties, serviced accommodation might be set up so quickly, you might be saying, what's Mark on about? But it just depends on what time of the year you're setting it up and where you are. So, you know, if it's Christmas time and it's by the coast, you might get the odd person wanting to book, but you're going to be looking at more springtime, summertime to really get those maximizing on the business. But again, if it's December or, you know, November-y time with HMOs, if you take one over, as long as it's not a student sort of orientated place where you're going to wait for the next semester to start or the next academic year, you can start filling those rooms relatively quickly and start getting that cash flow coming through. So again, if you need help with either of these, I can help you with those. I have the deal analyzing spreadsheet, which is free for you to download, 10-step rent to rent business builder guide, which is free, and our viewings guide as well. You'll be able to see the links in the show notes. Visit the website, if not, thepropertyunleashed.com website, and you can download anything there. You can listen to the podcast as well, where I help you with all of this sort of thing, plus a bit more mindset to move you forward. I hope this video's helped you. I hope you've taken some tips from it, or if anything, I pointed you in the right direction slightly. Feel free to share this with any friends that you think it might help, and it's much appreciated. But please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the videos and content that I'm putting out there. And also, you can join my newsletter as well, where I send out free tools and resources every time I release them. So if you want to be the first to get your hands on those, then come and sign up to the newsletter as well. So, thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. You'll take care. Bye for now.